All right, so this one's going to be a little different, guys. Um, this is the NBC interview with this Capitol Police Lieutenant. I think his last name is BYRD, who is the one that shot the female on January 6th, Ashley Babbitt. Now, I want to kind of preamble this by saying I'm not here to make a political statement. I don't do that. If you're following me because you expect to hear a political statement, you're in the wrong place. Not my job. There's a billion other places you can go. I'm not here to reaffirm anybody's beliefs. That said, as a cop, I'm interested to hear what this man has to say about what happened. Normally, the shooting of anyone that is clearly unarmed is scrutinized, as it should be. Are there occasions where shooting someone that is unarmed is justifiable? Absolutely it is, 100%. And we look at things like physical size difference, apparent mental condition, special skills. For instance, if, bad guy karate chops your beat partner in the next month and breaks his neck, well then yeah, those are things that should be considered in a deadly force situation. But that all said, I'm just curious to see what this guy's got to say about what happened. Now keep in mind, I'm not passing judgment on anything because I wasn't there on January 6th. I have no idea what these guys were looking at. I have no idea what was going on the ground other than what I've seen in the media. So I'm not going to say coulda, woulda, shoulda. I just want to listen to this man's words and see what was on his mind.
Your name has been battered about on the internet, but you've never been officially publicly identified. Do you want to tell us who you are?
My name is Michael BYRD. I'm a lieutenant for the United States Capitol Police.
For months, he has lived in hiding, he says, over this moment. His decision to use deadly force against a rioter as she climbed through a barricaded door that leads to the House chamber. In the months since, he's been the target of threats. Can you give us the nature of some of those threats?
They talked about, killing me, cutting off my head, very vicious and cruel things.
Racist things?
There were some racist attacks as well.
If nobody knew who you were and all they knew was your name,
that's all disheartening because I know I was doing my job.
Given the nature of the threats that you described, do you have any concern about showing your face and identifying yourself?
Of course I do. That is a very vital point, and it's something that is frightening. I believe I showed the utmost courage on January 6th. I believe I showed the utmost courage on January 6th, and it's time for me to do that now.
Responsible that day for securing the House chambers, BYRD couldn't see what Americans were witnessing on their TVs, but he could hear it in the pleas from other officers. Were you afraid that day?
I was very afraid.
What are you hearing on your radio?
I'm hearing about the breaches of different barricaded areas, officers being overrun, officers being down.
Did you ever hear a call or a report of shots fired during any of this?
As a matter of fact, I did. There was reports of shots fired through the House main door onto the floor of the chamber.
Later, those reports would prove to be false. This video captures BYRD instructing members of Congress to don gas masks.
We had a disbursement of tear gas in the rotunda. Please be advised there are masks under your seats.
He says officers barricaded the door, what he considered the last line of defense.
I had been yelling and screaming as loud as I was, please stop, get back, stop. We had our weapons drawn. There's a gun! There's a gun!
BYRD, only his hand and gun visible, targeted a figure trying to climb through a window. He fired a single, fatal shot, hitting Ashley Babbitt. She was 35 years old, an Air Force veteran, Trump supporter, and QAnon follower. We see your arm out there for a considerable amount of time. Were you wavering?
I was taking a tactical stance. You're ultimately hoping that your commands will be complied with, and unfortunately they were not.
When you fired, what could you see? Where were you aiming?
You're taught to aim for center mass. The subject was sideways, and I could not see her full motion of her hands or anything. So I guess her movement, caused the discharge to fall where it did.
And what did you think this individual was doing at that moment?
She was posing a threat to United States House of Representatives.
But an attorney for Ashley Babbitt's family disputes that. He did not respond to our request for a comment, but in a previous statement said Babbitt was not brandishing a weapon, not in close proximity to members of Congress, and was not an imminent threat of death or serious injury to anyone. Her family points out that she was not armed.
That's correct.
The fact that you weren't aware whether she was armed or not, did that alter the decision making?
It did not.
What should we make of the fact that there were other officers in other potentially life-threatening situations who didn't use their service weapons that day?
I'm sure it was a terrifying situation. I can only control my reaction, my training, my level of expertise. That would be upon them to speak for themselves.
Former President Trump has talked about you and this incident. He says she was murdered. What does it feel like to hear that from a former president?
Well, it's disheartening. If he was in the room or anywhere and I'm responsible for him, I was prepared to do the same thing for him and his family.
Would you have his back today if you were so assigned?
I sure would, because it's my job.
As I said, your name has been on the internet for some time in an unofficial way. A lot of rumors, a lot of accusations, one of which is that you had some sort of political motive. You were a political operative.
I do my job for Republican, for Democrat, for white, for black, red, blue, green.
A few years ago, you were investigated for leaving your service weapon in a bathroom.
I've done that.
And that's been brought up by those who are questioning your competency.
Yeah.
You want to respond to that?
Sure. It was a terrible mistake. I acknowledged it. I owned up to it. I accepted the responsibility.
Now, when I did it, I didn't, like nobody, it was like for a few seconds and I immediately recovered it. It's not like I left it there for any length of time or anything, but I believe that, and this has happened before to happened to the Secret Service a few years ago. If you carry a gun professionally long enough, I think it's probably almost inevitable. I know people are going to shit on me for saying that, but I can't think of a lot of guys or girls that I know that have carried a gun professionally for any length of time that, haven't fucked up somewhere and left it in a place it shouldn't have been. So, that doesn't. So I don't look at that and go, "Oh my God, he left his gun in the bathroom." I'm like, "Yeah, you did."
I was penalized for it, and I moved on.
Multiple investigations have now upheld BYRD's actions on January 6th. Capitol Police, in their press release after exonerating you, said your actions potentially saved members and staff from serious injury and possible death. What was it like to hear those words, to see those words?
Those words meant a lot, because that's exactly what I did on that day. That was my mission. That was what I prepared for. And it's rewarding and refreshing to hear that.
Lieutenant BYRD says he still loves his job and looks forward to returning to it. Your name.
So, what do you guys think? I mean, just a situation like that, as chaotic as that was, without being there physically and seeing the sees and hearing the hears and smelling the smells and touching the touches, it's hard to sit here and say, like I said at the beginning of this, coulda, woulda, shoulda. right? Here in South Carolina, we used to use a system of ability, opportunity, and jeopardy. It's since been revised, but do you have the ability to cause grievous bodily harm or death? Do you have the opportunity to do the same? And do you feel like your life is in imminent jeopardy of serious bodily harm or death? And that's kind of the criteria that we used to look at these officer-involved shootings. If you apply that to Lieutenant Byrd's situation, if in fact the Capitol Police, kind of review their situations using similar criteria, I can see where they came to the conclusion that they did. If the commands were given, show me your hands, or get out, get out, get out, and she turned in such a manner that he was either unable to see her hands or she was making some type of furtive movement, and given that situation, given a situation where a group of people have breached portions of a otherwise secure facility and are ignoring commands, could a reasonable police officer assume that if she's ignoring your commands and continuing to come through into this secure area, could you assign intent there? Could a reasonable officer look at that situation and go, okay, I've got to do something here? And I'm looking at this objectively. This isn't anything political at all. I'm trying to simply look at this through the lens of somebody who's worked the street. I feel for the guy that he was put in a position that he did what he did, and knowing that that action resulted in somebody's death, and especially when it's not immediately clear cut, especially when you could look at this situation and go, man, I might have fucked up. I might be in a bad spot. Because it turns out, she was unarmed. But again, giving the totality to the circumstances, I can see where he made the decision that he made. I don't know this guy. I can't assign any motive to it other than what he's presented here in this interview. Just a shitty, fucked up situation all the way around. So, you guys, let me know what you think. And again, try and be objective. I know that this is a hot topic, and I know that people are going to want to speak their piece from partisan lanes, but give me your objective opinion on this interview. I feel like he was being sincere. I understand what he's saying about, he was doing his job. And without being there to see what was going on in real time and standing in his shoes, I can't pass judgment, or I won't. So anyway, guys, let me know what you think. Drop a comment in the comment section down below. We'll see how many hate mails I get after this for not towing the party line one way or the other. You guys be safe. If you can't be good at it. We'll see you soon.